Welcome to When the World Fell. This story is a poignant tale of resilience, the unbreakable bonds of friendship, and the enduring light of hope in a shadowed world. Readers will be pulled into an emotional journey that questions what sacrifices one is willing to make for those they love, and how, even in the darkest times, the spark of humanity can shine through. Will they find the strength to overcome the insurmountable, or will despair claim them too? Open your heart and prepare for an adventure that will resonate long after the last page. In 2006, Jayson began his junior year of high school. He was a quiet and unassuming kid, an average student, and a member of the basketball team. He forged a tough exterior due to the teasing he faced for his short stature. Despite not being very popular, he found contentment in his solitude. Although he had a few close friends outside of school, it wasn't until he met Manny, a quiet and smart classmate from history, that he began to forge a friendship in it. They shared time writing rap lyrics, smoking, and drinking. By mid-year, their friendship had flourished. Jayson finally felt like he belonged. What began as an ordinary day at school soon darkened with ominous clouds, yet another omen of the fierce storms that Oklahoma was notorious for unleashing. The kids finally took notice of the ominous sky. Now a foreboding shade of blood red, the classroom fell silent, and even the teacher halted the lesson to tune into a news report. NASA warned of a potential meteor phenomenon. Terror surged through the air, propelling the entire school into the shadows of the lower levels. Manny and Jayson made sure to stick together. Their hearts were pounding with dread. As sirens sounded in the distance, the principal tried to calm the frightened students. He told them that a sudden meteor event was impending, but reassured them that they would be safe. As they sprawled on the floor, booming thunderclaps echoed around them, accompanied by the violent barrage of hail smashing against the windows, while most of the children desperately tried to reach their parents, but struggled to get a signal. An emergency alert broadcast to the citizens of the United States.
A catastrophic meteor event is currently impacting the globe. Seek shelter immediately, as this is no test. States in the U.S. are already being affected. The threat extends beyond meteors, as this event will also include dangerous tsunamis, tornadoes, colossal floods, hurricanes with waves reaching 190 feet or more, and relentlessly high winds. Brace yourselves, for the world will never be the same.
After days engulfed by relentless meteor showers, violent earthquakes, devastating landslides, and every imaginable natural disaster, the catastrophe finally subsided. A mere 3 million souls remained on the entire planet, with only about 100,000 survivors in the US. Against all odds, Jayson and Manny emerged from the chaos, their lives somehow spared. Once the immediate danger faded, they resolved to make their way home. Despite the school officials' desperate attempts to detain them, they could not be stopped. It was that bold decision that ultimately became their lifeline. The date was now January 1st, 2026. Jayson and Manny gathered with their families by the warmth of a crackling fire. Wow, it's hard to believe it's already 2026. Just look at us, kids and wives. Who would have imagined this? Manny raised his glass to Jayson with a smile. Time really does fly when you're having fun, doesn't it? At 37 years old, Jayson and Manny were both proud fathers of 3 kids each. A few years after the event now known as the global extinction, Jayson met his wife, Violet. Their family consisted of 2 sons and a daughter, Jalen, age 15, Henry, who was 10, and the youngest, Mia, at 7. Around the same time, Manny crossed paths with his wife Sylvia while he was on a quest for food. He unexpectedly bumped into her in the canned food aisle of a store he was searching in. After spending years together, they welcomed their little ones into their lives. Belinda was 16, JC was 9, and little Junior had just celebrated his 3rd birthday. The two families endured 2 arduous decades together. When food supplies dwindled in their region, they decided to head west. They searched through small towns along the way, embracing a nomadic lifestyle. Their journey took them to Texas for a time, followed by a few years in New Mexico. But for the last 10 years, they have settled in the mountains of Northern California. There, they established a farm and took in a few animals, including chickens and goats. Life was a relentless battle, yet the families forged unbreakable bonds to weather the storm. 5 years prior, Jayson uncovered a chilling truth. Former military personnel had banded together with a sinister goal: to violently reclaim their government. With grim determination, the two men took every precaution to shield their loved ones from the modern-day horrors closing in, resembling concentration camps of a darker era. It was then that they resolved to escape into the unforgiving mountains. They constructed a hidden refuge, far from prying eyes, a sanctuary that kept them safe from the grip of the brutal regime. Now, the cities and towns lay under the iron fist of ruthless enforcers from this new government. Anyone foolish enough to roam the streets risked being dragged away at gunpoint. Whole families were torn from their homes, forced into a nightmarish existence against their will. Life felt quiet, almost serene, when everything was weighed together. Since that fateful day in 2006, the group had encountered so few others. Occasionally, while venturing into nearby towns, they might catch a glimpse of a lone person or a small family, but it was a rare occurrence to spot anyone gathering in numbers like theirs. The internet was a distant memory, and cars had become relics, too burdensome to maintain. Over the span of 2 decades, only twice had they looked up to see a plane cutting through the vast emptiness of the sky. The world plunged into a bleak past, resembling the year 1806 more than the one in 2006, when everything crumbled. Electricity vanished, leaving homes cold and the nights engulfed in darkness. Fire became the one thing people clung to, more precious than any currency. Survivors clawed for every scrap they could find, battling against the desperate conditions. Tragically, many fell victim to starvation and diseases in the months that followed, unable to obtain the medicines that could have saved their lives. Hope quickly faded, and those left behind faced an unforgiving reality. The day after the new year, Jayson was jolted awake by urgent news. Jalen was gravely ill. No one could pinpoint the issue, but Jalen had awakened with an agonizing stomachache. Within an hour, he was doubled over in pain, succumbing to what could only be described as a coma. In this world, doctors were nearly a thing of the past. For 2 decades, consultation with a physician had become a rarity, a memory fading in the minds of most. The new militia had made it clear that while healthcare existed, it came at a steep price, the cost of one's freedom. The desperation hung heavily in the air, amplifying the concerns swirling around Jalen's condition. Sylvia gently ushered the kids away, diverting their attention from Jalen's situation. Jayson turned to Violet with a sense of determination in his eyes. "I'm going to find a doctor for our son," he stated firmly. Though Violet felt unease at the thought of him leaving, she understood that this was one of those moments where he would take any necessary risk for their child. She knew there was nothing he wouldn't do for Jalen. As Jayson prepared to leave, he realized he had to inform Manny about what was going on. Jayson pulled Manny aside, his voice low and urgent. "I'm going to find Jaylen a doctor." Manny's expression darkened. He understood the weight of the situation. "I knew you'd say that. I've already spoken to Sylvia. I'm coming with you." Jayson's eyes widened in disbelief. "No way, brother. You need to stay here. Who's going to keep the family safe?" Manny stood his ground, resolve etched on his face. "Violet and Sylvia will take care of everything. We'll only be gone for a few days, right? We don't really have time for sightseeing anyway. Let's stop arguing and pack what we need so we can leave as soon as possible." Manny linked up with Jayson after 30 minutes of packing and farewells to his family. "What's the plan?" Jayson shot Manny a look of desperation. "You remember Quincy? I have to believe he's still in Crescent City. If he's there, he might have an idea of what medicines I need." Manny nodded and fell in step beside him. The journey ahead loomed large in their minds. It wasn't far in distance, but they would be traversing it on foot. Tension was high as the specter of military patrols cast a dark shadow over the path they had to take, making the familiar roads feel dangerous and unpredictable. It was roughly a day and a half's trek, navigating through the rugged mountains. The two were familiar with the terrain, having spent countless hours hunting in the area. Nevertheless, an unsettling thought loomed over them as they approached the roads. These days, the only vehicles that seemed to move along those paths were driven by militia thugs. Manny turned to Jayson, his brow furrowed. "How do you plan to reach Quincy if he's holed up in one of those camps?" Jayson merely shrugged, hands in his pockets. "I'm not sure. I've got a little over a day to figure it out." They trudged through the darkness of the night, determined to conserve their energy by resting during the sweltering heat of the day. Their meager supplies consisted of only a loaf of bread, along with some raw potatoes and corn. A fire would attract too much attention, so they relied on their scant resources. After 24 relentless hours of unyielding movement, they finally found a moment to rest the following day. For about 4 or 5 hours, they allowed fatigue to wash over them before they resumed their journey. They pressed on, the promise of reaching Crescent City guiding their weary steps, with the hope of arriving just as night fell. As they stood on the elevated road overlooking the city, a mix of determination and anxiety swelled within them. Jayson turned to Manny, a glint of resolve in his eyes. "I know where the camp is. I need to go, find a way in, and track down Quincy. He'll have an idea of what to do." Manny hesitated, anxiety gnawing at him. "Are you sure he'll help you?" Jayson let out a light laugh, tinged with nostalgia. "Let's just say I've been there for him when it counted. More than once." Manny rolled his eyes, but a flicker of faith sparked within him. Jayson continued, his tone serious yet hopeful. "You have to stay put. Keep your head down, all right? I'll be back in a couple of hours. But if I'm not back in 4, promise me you'll go home. Tell my family. I'm sorry. No way. You're coming back, man. Just go figure out how to help Jaylen," Manny replied, his voice thick with emotion, determination brimming beneath his worry. While Jayson was gone, Manny noticed a lot of patrol cars. The city was shrouded in darkness, but a few places flickered with light. In this new world, those lights were glaringly obvious. Hours passed, and then Jayson burst back in, breathing heavily, panic written all over his face. "We need to move, now." "I was with Quincy, but a guard spotted us and demanded my ID. I had to take off, and they're right behind me." Manny quickly gathered what he had gotten out of his bag as he heard vehicles with spotlights drawing closer. As they dashed through the dense woods, an exhilarating thought struck Manny. "They'll be searching for us down below," he panted, adrenaline surging. "If we can put enough distance between us, we need to get to higher ground." Jayson hesitated for a moment, the idea hitting him unexpectedly, but the urgency in Manny's voice compelled him to nod in agreement. Without a second to lose, they pushed themselves into a full sprint. In a flurry of movement, they reached two trees standing about 10 feet apart and began their ascent, hearts racing with the thrill of the chase. They struggled to steady their ragged breaths, the panic clawing at their insides. Soon, they knew, the militia would be upon them, hunting like wolves in the dark. They spotted a glow emerging from the hillside behind them. Moments later, shadows emerged, figures with brandishing flashlights and automatic rifles. As they walked directly underneath, the two exchanged looks filled with sheer terror. They knew they'd give up soon. They just had to wait them out. A few hours later, Jayson was whispering to wake Manny up. They had both dozed off in the tree after staying hidden while the guards did their rounds. "Manny! Hey, Manny!" The jolt of adrenaline shot through Manny as he stirred awake. "What's going on?" Jayson scanned the forest around them. "I think they've left." "Let's get moving." They quickly climbed down from the trees and started jogging toward home. After about 15 minutes of running, they slowed their pace and finally had a moment to talk. "So, what did Quincy say?" Manny asked. "It's not what he said. It's what he gave me," Jayson replied, revealing a pill bottle. "If we keep up a good pace, we could make it home by 3 tomorrow." "What's going on? Are those antibiotics or something? What does he think the problem is?" Jayson caught his breath. "No, they're actually vials of insulin. He had to conceal them in pill bottles to assist people at the camp. He thinks Jaylen has gone into a diabetic coma due to hyperglycemia. Now that I've got these, he should be all right for a few months. I didn't even realize he had diabetes." Manny felt a sense of relief, but he knew what lay ahead. "Yeah, now comes the tough part, finding more. Don't worry, Manny. I'll handle it. I really appreciate you putting everything on the line for my family, man." Manny gave him a reassuring nod. "I know you'd do the same for me. We've gone through so much together. We're family now." After a long day of trekking, their bodies signaled it was time for a break, cramping up from the exertion. They had just tackled a grueling 3,000-foot ascent with a stunning view of the river below. With the warmth of the day wrapping around them, they settled on a ledge that overlooked the water about 100 feet down, enjoying the refreshing breeze that floated up from the river. "The perks of getting old, huh?" Manny replied, his enthusiasm shining through. "We've been on our feet for nearly 3 days now, barely catching any sleep. I'm really proud of what we've accomplished." Jayson chuckled in agreement. "Absolutely. I'd do it all over again, for you or yours." In that moment, Manny's mind wandered back to memories of the day of the mass extinction. "You saved me multiple times back in 2006, and plenty of times after. We've saved each other. Anyone alive right now has had some help. Or, really, good people around them," Jayson agreed. "Let's get a couple of hours of sleep, and hopefully the bodies will allow us to finish the walk." As they began to set down their backpacks and take a breather, Jayson's leg snagged on a rock, causing him to lurch forward, perilously close to the edge. Manny instinctively reached out, seizing the back of Jayson's shirt with both hands. The weight of Jayson's body yanked Manny toward the brink as well, He crashed onto his stomach, gripping Jayson's shirt tightly. Exhausted, he lacked the strength to hoist him back up. "Manny, grab the vials." Jayson hurled them over his head, sending them back onto the cliffside he was precariously hanging from. "Jayson, I can't hold on much longer. I'm slipping." Manny felt himself inching closer to the precipice with every passing moment. Jayson sensed the urgency and shouted back, "Manny, you have to let me go. You're going to fall." But Manny's resolve was unyielding. He couldn't bring himself to release his grip. "You have to take that medicine to Jaylen. Just let me go." Manny's heart raced, torn between desperation and resolve. He squeezed his eyes shut, a storm of emotions raging within him, and finally released his grip. In that moment, he felt the crushing weight of Jayson slip through his fingers. He sprang to his feet, heart racing, and peered over the edge, his breath caught in his throat. He watched in horror as his friend's body plunged into the water, swallowed by the swirling rapids. Panic gripped him. It felt like an eternity stretched before him as he realized it could take hours to reach him. In that moment, he felt utterly powerless, a helpless witness to the chaos unfolding. Desperately, he scanned the turbulent water, praying for a glimpse of Jayson re-emerging from the depths. But the current was relentless, churning wildly, and no matter how hard he searched, he couldn't see him anywhere. Manny spent an hour searching the water, but he couldn't find his friend. Even if he had made it down to the shore, he realized that without knowing where to look, he wouldn't have been able to help. Deep down, he understood that Jayson would want him to focus on what mattered most. Right now, all that mattered to Manny was keeping everyone safe, especially Jaylen. It was his responsibility to protect those he cared about. As Manny turned to leave, he was confronted by 4 masked men with guns pointed at him.
"Hands up! Down on your knees, now!"